All right, everybody, welcome back to the GovTech Advisors podcast. Been a lot of things going on between Andrew, myself, and some of our guests, but we're back, we're ready, and we've got a great guest here today with Miss Nicole Rollins from FastDemocracy.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you, guys.
We're welcome, and we're excited to have you and kind of learn more about yourself and a little bit more about FastDemocracy. Andrew, anything you want to say, sir?
No, I actually was. So Nicole, I apologize. A couple of weeks ago when we started kind of talking about bringing you on, I was doing some snooping on LinkedIn and on FastDemocracy, and I was completely blown away. I don't want to spoil what what you're going to talk about, but I'm super excited about this because I think it's really awesome what you guys do for communities across the country. So I'm just excited. I'm going to try not to fanboy out too much while I'm on this call, but I'm excited.
Thanks, Andrew. You made me feel so welcome.
Well, Nicole, what we'd like to start maybe today is learn a little bit more about you, a little bit more about yourself, a little bit more about FastDemocracy. But I'll kind of turn it over to you for maybe a little bit of insight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far you want me to go back or what you guys are interested in specifically. I have been in sales for a long time now and working remotely all of that time. So when COVID hit, it wasn't really much of a transition in that I'd always been working from home. So that was easy part of COVID. But my career is backwards. So I started a family early. And I'm a mother of 3 boys, and I still call them boys and I still call them babies, but they are young men now. So I need to move on a little bit. But anyway, so I started a family first and then went into my career. I was always, when the boys were young, very active in their classrooms and like you, Jordan, I have a son with disabilities. So I've always been a big disabilities advocate. It's always been a big passion of mine. And, you know, as a parent, being a true advocate, because no one advocates better for your children than you as a parent. So that's super important to me. And I think that's kind of the backbone of my transition into FastDemocracy and what it does, but we can have a talk about that in a minute. But so I started just being very involved in the community with my kids as they were growing up, and got involved in advertising. It's part of my family, sales and advertising. My dad, my brother are all in sales. And so just kind of transition naturally. As sales, again, you know, is one of those things you kind of fall into sometimes. You don't start out like to be a salesperson when I grow up. But you kind of fall into it. And I had a great time doing it when the boys were little. I was working for a parenting magazine, which was so much fun because it related to what I was doing as a mom. So started that there. And then I wanted to do something full-time once my youngest went into school full-time, and said, okay, I want to do something where I can really move up the ladder and make a career out of this. So I went into advertising and marketing and worked my way up into leadership positions and put my heart and soul into it. And then COVID hit, and I was at really the top of my career in that space, in that company. Loved the company, was passionate about it, the leadership. And COVID hit. We had just got back from a cruise, is how ironic is that? And this was in beginning of 2020. And our entire company was furloughed the week after we got back from the cruise. And this is a 100-year-old company, right? So that was quite a transition. I mean, it was a shock to my system. I didn't realize how much that role was a part of who I was, or at least I thought it was at that time. So at the time I needed to start making decisions. Was I going to wait it out? Was I going to transition? I am originally from the San Francisco Bay Area and Silicon Valley. And so I always had this pull toward technology and SaaS startups. That whole world just was kind of pulling at me the last 5 years. I kept thinking a lot about it as a transition. But, you know, it's definitely a very different industry than marketing and advertising. So I had to make the leap, and I will be honest, LinkedIn was one of those things that kind of helped me make that transition. It was extremely helpful. So kudos to LinkedIn and some of the people on there, the networking and the great people you meet were amazing. So transitioned into GovTech. So I decided on FastDemocracy My family was one of those families. My whole dad's side is Italian. And so we were one of those families that had the big Sunday dinners and would have these big political debates at the table, and no one would be offended. It was just whatever your opinion was, that's what it was. And we'd move on and have our dinner. So that was always a big part of my growing up. And so this whole concept of what FastDemocracy does and what it is just made perfect sense. And the fact that it was in technology and GovTech. So.
Well, I think, I think that GovTech is something that people relate to, right? Like, I don't think, if I'm being honest, I don't think a lot of people just say like, oh yeah, I want to go sell to the government, right? You have to have some kind of element or connection, I think, to draw it. You know, if you've seen the past episode, you kind of understand why I got it, understand what Andrew's, objectives are in it. So I think GovTech is something that people just aren't naturally drawn to, like they're invested in doing. So so you kind of segued into the next thing is, so you talked a little bit about FastDemocracy. What is it?
Great question. So FastDemocracy is a legislative tracking platform that covers all 50 states and US Congress. We utilize AI to help individuals, nonprofits, and government affairs teams to track legislation that matters to them. And we're a nonpartisan tool, and our mission is government transparency.
Got it. So take it a step further. So how does it work, right? How are individuals or how are legislators, like, what does it do? Kind of how does it work?
Sure. So we have a couple different versions. We have a free version, and that's what I'd like to focus on for the moment as to, why are we important in the community? For say someone like Jordan or myself that cares about disabilities and what's going on in that world with legislation. So we as individuals can go on to fastdemocracy.com, sign up for a free account. We have a free version. We can track legislation on disabilities, right? Find out what's going on within our state. We can look at our legislators. We can contact legislators directly from the site. And we can actually get real time, well, not real time because that's our professional, but you can subscribe and get a weekly or daily alert on legislation/bills that matter to you.
And so those alerts, do they alert you when, like, let's say if you are just using special needs or disabilities, do you put keywords in? And so when legislation comes down and says, hey, this might be of interest to you, and then you say, okay, I want to track that. And do you see the whole life cycle of, let's say, until it gets passed, or do you see also when it might not have as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, everything. The votes are in there, the actions, hearings, all those kinds of things. So you can really be an active participant if you care about something in particular. So you're as an individual, right? So that would be kind of our free version, is being aware of what's going on and how can you get involved? Because most people, they may be passionate about something. Maybe it's healthcare, maybe whatever it might be, but they don't know how to get involved. And so using FastDemocracy with our free version, I mean, you go on, all you have to do to start an account is enter your email address. That's all we ask for. And we do that for one reason. It's because we want government transparency. We want to make it easy for every single person that is interested to get on, figure out what's going on within their state, what they care about, and be able to reach out to legislators. So when you're on that particular bill, you can actually click a button that says contact the legislator. And so we make it very effective, by putting in your actual physical address. That email goes directly to the legislators within your district.
Wow.
And so it's being heard and, read. It's being read. Hopefully they're reading those emails. But anyway, we just want to make it as easy as possible to get involved. And like I said, we cover all US Congress, so all the federal bills and all the state. So if you're living in California, you can go in, put in your state, your email address, and then you can get access to everything going on. And like you mentioned, Andrew, you can follow that particular piece of legislation as it's going through. So right at the top of the bill, it's going to show you pass the House, pass the Senate, signed into law by the governor. So it'll give you the kind of, the arc of what's going on at the latest. And then we do for those free users, you can choose a weekly or daily update on what's going on with that particular piece of legislation that you care about.
So you had said you're looking, or users are individuals, legislators, legislative government affairs. I have to assume a little bit salespeople probably that are selling in the GovTech space, maybe are using your software as well too?
No, I don't think so. I really don't think that, I think it's truly just government affairs teams, right? Nonprofits and associations, right, that have members that care about what's going on for their association. And of course, nonprofits, huge. We have something that we do that's very different for our professional users. We have a website widget that we put on, let's say a nonprofit. You have a nonprofit, you need to track legislation, you need to be aware of what's going on, right? So we will install a website widget onto your website as a nonprofit that allows your supporters and followers to, again, track the legislation, reach out to the legislators. They can even pre-draft an email for their supporters, because a lot of times we want to reach out, but we don't know what to say. I mean,
Right.
What are we going to say? So these nonprofits and associations, they can actually put in an email, and all you have to do is sign away and click and put in your address, of course, so it goes to the correct legislators in your district.
Well, I mean, you actually answered one of the questions that I had was, part of, because there's been certain legislation that I've tracked and I felt very passionate about. Jordan and I have talked about it over the past, couple of years. But one of the things is that there are multiple people that are working on certain legislation. So being able and going on to their specific website, and then everybody has a different contact method, right? You have to jump through certain hoops. So being able to kind of go directly to that. But if I'm in FastDemocracy as an enterprise or business or an individual, is there already like a pre-canned communication to that, or do I, or is that something set up by the nonprofit that you're talking about? So like if I'm just an individual, sometimes I know exactly what I want to say, but then I have to edit it before I send it. Sometimes I have no idea what to say of how to best communicate my support.
Right. So the professional users, so the nonprofits, government affairs teams, associations, anybody utilizing the website widget, they would have that email set up, the pre-drafted email. But some of them say, go ahead and put whatever you want. You can use our portal through their website to reach out to legislators and say what you want. So it just depends on who's utilizing the widget.
Right. So you talked a little bit about it. So there's the free version and there's the professional version, right? Yeah. What's the difference? Who would do free? Who would do professional? And kind of what are the differences between them?
Good question. So the free version is for people that just care about something, right? So just someone like I said, if you have you're passionate about education, Andrew, so you're following certain things, Jordan, maybe disabilities, healthcare. So whatever your interest might be as an individual. So it could be anybody. And it's just, you want to watch it, you want to track it. You may want to reach out to your legislators because you care. And you use the free version. That's plenty for the individual user. The professional version is for your government affairs teams, your nonprofit organizations, where they have members and supporters that are that they want to engage and they want to. And then for our government affairs teams and things, and the nonprofits, we have analytics and data. We have client reporting or generate reports. So let's say you're tracking all the education legislation coming through California this year. And so what you can do is, with our professional version, you can track those bills, right? With the professional version, you get real-time alerts, and that's the key difference, because you need to move on something. You need to know if a hearing just got scheduled, you need that alert. And we have a mobile app. So let's say you're running around the Capitol, you've got real-time updates. So if something's going on, something's changing with that piece of legislation you're tracking, you're going to get notified. We do push notifications on the mobile app. And then we also do an email notification. So you can choose to do both or one or the other. So it's a real-time update. And we also use artificial intelligence to alert you on things you might not know are happening, but because you're tracking, say, AB 12, this bill over here is something's going on over here. Maybe it's sneaky at the end of session or something. But we're going to alert you with AI that, you know what, because you care about AB 12, we're going to alert you on this bill over here because it's similar in language or it makes sense. So that's the difference with the professional. We offer client reporting. We do analytics and data on legislators. We do voter scorecards. There's all kinds of bells and whistles and gizmos and gadgets on the professional side that they would need versus just an individual user?
Well, I said earlier, I would think as a salesperson, I would use this. And where I was going with this is, for me, I use Google Alerts, right? Like, hey, I want to know if a certain city or certain area talks about modernizing cloud, right? Or digital paper, whatever you want to call it. I would think like this would be another repository to kind of see what's coming down the line from the top of, hey, the state's modernizing government in this particular field that I may sell into. So that was kind of where I was going. And it's like I said, I use Google Alerts a lot today, but I would think it would be a really good tool for those that sell to GovTech to maybe utilize the system to see what kind of legislation's coming down the pipe that would affect them.
And thank you for that, because now you can join our team and bring in some of the creative ideas that you just came up with.
Well, hold on. We're going to edit that one out. There's a fee for that.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point, Jordan, because I was thinking the same thing, because I know, like, for instance, there was the Emergency Connectivity Fund. We work a lot within telecom. And so that was kind of working its way through. And I know that there are certain people that I work with that were like massively impacted by that legislation and by that funding that was there, because now it allowed certain customers of them that doors were closed were suddenly open. And so I knew some people that were actively monitoring that to say, okay, I got a green light now. And so now I can work to implement, certain things on there. So, I mean, as a sales rep, I mean, I think this, as long as they know kind of what to look for within and how to best find legislation that would apply to what they are kind of positioning, I think this would be an incredibly powerful tool.
Yeah, and there's something else we cover. So let's say you're tracking a certain piece of legislation. Once you click on that particular bill, we also cover, and this is interesting too, especially if you're trying to get a pulse on, the country. What are people's thoughts and feelings on this particular piece of legislation? We cover all news media and tweets on every bill.
Oh, wow.
So instead of, and the reason
that's a little
being,
scary.
I know. But the reason being is our founder is a female lobbyist, Sarah Baker, and she had a large team, and she wanted a platform there where she could save herself a ton of time, because a lot of these teams are doing things by hand, by spreadsheet, and we save them days of work. We just did a case study, and one of our partners said, FastDemocracy has literally saved me days and days of work, because we used to do everything manually. So that's a way we can help there. But so with her concept was, I want a platform to be developed where I don't have to go outside of the platform. We cover press releases for all state departments. We cover news media on legislators and bills. And so instead of having to go outside of the platform, the other thing is, for our professional users, we let them communicate within our system. Right. So we have a feature on the bill where they can talk back and forth. They can drop testimony into a bill, reports, live links. So if they're building like a list of bills that they're tracking, because, these guys and gals are tracking, hundreds of bills every session. So it gets like, it's not like us where we're looking at maybe 5 bills each session that, we're passionate about. This is a big undertaking. And so we're trying to save them time. We're trying to make the process as easy as possible. So that's kind of the goal on the professional side. And then the free side is government transparency, easy accessible government, right?
So you had said earlier that, this is a solution for government affairs, nonprofits, individuals. What about inversely, right? Do you guys ever kind of go to the government and say, hey, you should procure this, right? Or use this in some way, shape, form for that? I think there's a lot of buzz right now around government transparency and freedom of information, all those different things that go into it. So is there a path to get this where the government would adopt it in a way?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of our partners are actual state departments. So our home state is Missouri. That's where the company was founded. And so we are partnered with all the state departments in Missouri. So yes, absolutely. I mean, everybody needs this, right? It's for everyone.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're trying to expand the market here, right? We're selling to salespeople and everything else.
Yes, so. I know, Jordan. Thank you.
I'm completely blown away because I was poking around, but I'm going to be setting up an account. There's a couple of things that I know of right now that I'd like to track, and I'd like to kind of kick the tires on a little bit. So what are some of the unique ways that you talked about pre-canning the emails for people to communicate and advocate. I mean, what are some other ways for those companies on there, maybe some nonprofits or other entities that are listening to this now, that they could take advantage of FastDemocracy to maybe increase what they're trying to accomplish as well, or to help to educate maybe their customers or what they're doing on their behalf?
Yeah, great question. A lot of our large nonprofit organizations, what they're doing is, large and small, they're utilizing FastDemocracy for their supporters, right? So because of the free version, they can have a webinar or an in-person meeting. And I have this happen all the time. One in particular might be, I have quite a few nursing associations and things that work with us, that work with FastDemocracy. And so what they do is they enable their all the nurses within their community to be informed. And so they'll have a webinar or a meeting where they share FastDemocracy as the free version, so everybody can get engaged. So supporters can back those nonprofits by utilizing our free version. So they're just sharing that information, and it's limitless. Anybody and everybody can set up an account for free, which is the basis of why we started. Our founder started with that in mind. It was just going to be a free version. They're like, wait, we might be able to make a company out of this. And
right.
this is even better. Listen to this. It's a husband and wife duo, because her husband is the software developer. He's our tech genius, full-time CTO with us. And so the great thing about FastDemocracy is the developer of the software is full-time and isn't leaving. A lot of the times in the tracking world, you have someone develop the software, they develop it, and then they're gone. And so the platform never evolves. And with FastDemocracy, we actually have it today. We have a tech meeting every single Wednesday. And I go to our CTO and say, hey, this is what our clients want. We implement. We're not, okay, maybe in 2 years we'll put this feature in. So we're listening to what the users want, so the user experience, and we're implementing immediately. One of the things we did was the push notifications. So we started with a mobile app. We just implemented push notifications 2 weeks ago. And then we also implemented a new feature for it's whip lists, basically. So you can kind of predict the vote. So if you care about a piece of legislation in the government affairs space or the nonprofit space, and you're kind of going, okay, who's going to vote which way? And so you can use those whip lists, and they're on the mobile app as well. So real-time updating as you're running around the Capitol. So there's all kinds of things you can do with our software.
That is so. Wait, okay. So you're putting that whip list together based off of like previous voting records. Is that how?
We do have that. We have analytics and data. So let's say you're following a certain senator, and you want to deep dive into the senator. You can use our data to look up and say, okay, how has Senator so-and-so voted on education? And you can pull up every single vote he or she has ever done in education and see how they voted. And so you can use that, of course. But this is also for people that are actually talking to the legislators face-to-face, like at the Capitol, so they can use that too. Right. So it could be using the data and also the in-person and kind of real-time updating around the Capitol. The other great thing about FastDemocracy is we allow you to share. So if you're a professional user, you can share your bill list and or whip list or anything else you're doing with anyone, even if they're not a user. And a lot of trackers put up walls. So if you're not a user, you can't share with, ABC. And so we allow open, again, back to that government transparency.
So Jordan, I'm just thinking about our text chain that we have, our ever evolving text chain. So I just love the ability that, through the whip list that I can see. So can I see that as a free user? Can I see?
No, that's a pro feature.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, I can go around and like start whipping up votes the way that I want them to go. That I can see, it's super great. And I'm trying, I said at the beginning that I wasn't going to fanboy out too much, but I'm doing it. But this is seriously cool. I can understand why certain organizations would use this to prepare themselves for meetings on the Hill or on the state legislators. But as a particular business, depending on, I'll just use the ECF again, like if that was something that could positively impact my business, I would want to know where that legislation was and to know who was weighing in on that. And if I needed to whip the votes or find a way to be compelling or persuasive in some way of how it would impact their community. I mean, it's fantastic. So all right, Jordan's like, I'm gonna stop.
No, I mean, there's when Nicole was saying, I was like, it'd be interesting, and I don't know if it's a good idea or really bad idea. Is, hey, there's this piece of legislation that's out there, right, or legislation that's out there. If you could almost put like a public poll on it, right, to see how, as a citizen, we would want kind of people to vote on that. I don't know if that's a good idea or a really, really bad idea.
Everybody else says it scientifically, unscientifically on Twitter, Facebook, and whatever else. So why not have it be a little bit more, let's call it official? I don't know, but
just leave the comment section off.
Yeah.
No comments, just cast a vote and that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really interesting, and as you kind of said, Nicole, like for me, a lot of changes have happened COVID as it relates to disability services and different funding that's come out as somebody that sells in the GovTech space. So I, from both a personal and professional side, selfishly, I could see this used in a multitude of different ways that are out there. So I guess one of the questions I would ask is, like, for FastDemocracy, for Nicole, what is next? Like, how do we help get more eyes on FastDemocracy? What do you kind of need from us? What is next for FastDemocracy?
Well, like I said, we're always evolving. So we're, every week or month, we've got something new that we're coming up with to add to it. And we truly listen to our users. What are their needs? That's why we're working on case studies right now to kind of, get feedback, and we implement, like I said, right away. We also have, there's a lot of competition in the tracking space, I'm not going to lie, but we have more of a boutique feel because we may do all 50 states, but we're able to really, really push the customer service and the unique experience with the evolving platform. So I would say for you guys, how you could help would be just getting the name out there so people know there is an easy way to be informed. And that is truly the mission of the company. That was, Sarah Baker's mission from the get-go, was make government accessible so people know how to follow along, how to understand what's going on, who is, who's in each district. I mean, you can go on and put in your address and it'll pull up the legislators in your district. Most people don't know that. If you were to ask them, they can't tell you. And our platform allows that easy access. And so just getting the brand name out there so people know that there is a tool for them that is free. On the professional side, of course, just letting government affairs teams know that we are out there, and we're very tech savvy, but we're also extremely user friendly. As you know, I transitioned into tech. So was I the most tech savvy person? Absolutely not. But could I manipulate the platform very easily and learn it quickly? Yes. And so there are people in this space that have been doing this for 30 to 40 years, and they get overwhelmed sometimes by technology. And so to know that our platform is so user friendly, I think is very important. So yeah, that's how we can help, or you guys can help me. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. So Nicole, I have a question for you. You mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, and so you had a similar story to a lot of different people to what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
And you made a quick comment, and then we kept going. But you talked about making that transition in some of the people right now are maybe still in that transitional phase, and they are starting to think about using LinkedIn or starting to think about how they can make that transition or find that next thing. And you said LinkedIn was very helpful for you to help you with that. And so for those people that might be listening to this podcast now, they're saying, well, yeah, I'm trying to figure it out too. I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but talk a little bit about how did you use LinkedIn to find the thing that you wanted? And do you have any advice to anybody that might be in the situation that you were in January, February of last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think so many people were affected by COVID in many ways, obviously, but on the business side, businesses shutting down and people being furloughed and unemployed. And obviously we know that through just watching the news and being personally affected by it myself. it was scary. I mean, I was scared. What am I going to do, and how am I going to move forward from this? Because, like I said, it was such a part of me what I did. And so LinkedIn, I was on LinkedIn prior to COVID, but was not involved at all, really. I mean, and so I got on LinkedIn and I met someone. I'm going to just throw his name out there because Jacob Levy, Levy, he's my little LinkedIn guru. But I met him and he was so open. He didn't ask anything of me. He was just very giving. But that's what I found from LinkedIn is people are givers on LinkedIn, not takers. I mean, maybe that's my, rainbows and unicorn outlook on life that I have.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I've met so many amazing people that all we want to do is just hang out and just have fun and try to help each other.
Yes. And so I think of it as a family now. LinkedIn is my, it's my second family. And so what I did was I got involved. I started reaching out to people, commenting. I think the thing that helped me the most was commenting. It's not necessarily coming up with your own content because that can be very intimidating. I've gotten comfortable with it slowly but surely. I'm still not there, but it can be scary. So I think the easiest way to get involved is just start being an active participant in liking and commenting. That's easy. Everybody can push a like button. Everybody can make a quick comment and be appreciative of someone else sharing something that helped them. And so that's how I started. Then I started going into the DMs, which I think was extremely helpful. There's ways you can search out. So in the search bar, you can search, very specifically a position or something you're looking for organically. Instead of just applying through LinkedIn positions, you can search organically to people that are posting. Because as you all know, if you're looking for an opportunity, a lot of the times it's posted by someone and it's more of an organic transition instead of filling out a resume and applying. I mean, that, you're one of hundreds, right? So that helped me, and being like someone first to comment on an open position on an organic post and then DMing the person. I mean, as sales, as we are used to being hunters and going out and doing that type of thing, right? So I think one of the things I did was I would, research a CEO and send them a DM and make it heartfelt and personal. And it would get attention of someone I wasn't even connected with, and I would get a response. So that's the way to use LinkedIn, I think. And hopefully I can help people if they need help with LinkedIn as far as, how can they make the transition? Because that was very difficult too, is I don't want to ostracize myself in SaaS world, but there are SaaS snobs. I'm just going to say it. And people that don't believe in transferable skills. If you're good in sales, you're good in sales. I don't care what industry you're in. You just have to learn the industry. And some people don't believe in that, and some do. And there's so many that are positive and believe in that. And so I gravitated toward those people, and they were extremely helpful. So that would be my advice: is find those people that believe in transferable skill set, and you'll be golden.
I completely agree, because in my career, if I look back to some of the people that made the biggest impact or that were most successful, almost all of them didn't come from the industry that we are currently in. They were just good, genuine people. And they were just good at what they did. And so I know we've said this before, Jordan, on other podcasts, but for anybody that's listening that needs help, that needs an introduction, that needs some guidance, that wants to connect and just kind of, anything like that to help in any way, we're here, we're open. That's why we're on here. And that's why we're doing this, to help kind of introduce new people and to help in any way we can.
Well, and I guess, Nicole, one follow-up to that would be, so let's just say somebody's watching this episode and maybe wants to buy FastDemocracy, or maybe, they want to work for Nicole. How do they get a hold of you?
So they can reach me at Nicole@FastDemocracy.com. And FastDemocracy is, of course, all one word. And it's NICOLE at FastDemocracy.com. And then my LinkedIn, I'm super involved in LinkedIn. I check it 20 times a day. So minimum, I'm always on there looking at it and seeing what's going on. So you can find me on LinkedIn under Nicole Rollins, and FastDemocracy, of course, would be the company if you want to search it that way. But yeah, feel free to send me a DM, reach out for advice on transitioning, of course, into a new field, into SaaS, GovTech. And then also for anyone who's interested in FastDemocracy, we would love to get you set up on the professional side. And then the free users go to FastDemocracy.com and set up a free account. It's as simple as entering your email address and you're ready to go. So full government transparency and accessibility at FastDemocracy.com. That's my commercial.
Yeah. But wait, there's more. No, I'm joking. There's not. So when this is posted, we'll tag everybody in there. We'll have the links and addresses too. So those you guys are listening or watching, just look down below or to the side or above, wherever you guys may be looking, and you'll have all of our information.
Well, thank you, Nicole. We greatly appreciate it. I think we learned a lot here today. You know, again, for me as a salesperson, another tool in my toolbox going in there right now and kind of tracking. But before we kind of wrap today, anything you want to add, anything that you want to discuss or bring up, I'll turn the mic over to you.
I just thank you so much for getting in contact with me and giving me the opportunity to talk about Fast Democracy, because I'm very passionate about the mission and what we're doing and what we're accomplishing. And of course, we could use all the support as a SaaS startup. So the more publicity we get just to get the brand out there is wonderful. And I really appreciate you guys giving me the time today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I learned a ton.
Thank you.
And I'm excited. So I'm signing up right after this episode.
Yay.